Okay, whoops. Let's get started. We have a full morning today. We've got a 2-hour lecture, and today is something that you are going to be, just your head's going to be spinning. Your head's going to be spinning because these last couple of chapters are, it's basically everything you need to know about the course. And they front load it, so it's got a lot of information. Luckily, today is going to overlap a little bit what we did in Wilkins as well, so it's going to be good. We're going to get through this. Before we get started, though, are there any questions? We have a test here on Thursday. Is that correct? Your first exam?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I will get a study guide together if one's not posted already. And we're not going to use Lockdown Browser because it's just too complicated for me. So we'll just need the gallery view. So you'll have to have your Zoom lens on. So
Miss D. Yeah, Miss D, did we find out anything about the exam for 141? Is there a way that we can postpone that?
I did. I asked and I was told no. The consensus of the faculty, the full-time faculty, was no. We need to stay focused on what the syllabus states. So you'll have 2 exams on
Oh, okay.
on Tuesday and then one on Thursday.
Okay.
Well, welcome to college. So, has anybody contacted Heen yet for 141?
Yeah, I believe we were somebody sent an email. We've been talking back and forth so that we're not all emailing her at once. I can't remember who said they sent her an email.
Okay, wonderful, because she's all set to go. And I understand Lisa Parampil evidently is going to be able to start tutoring also. She's a second-year student who's wonderful, and she's available to start on Friday, but I don't know what her Friday schedule is. Heen, I know, works for part of the day, so she'll be able to connect with you Friday afternoon. But she's very approachable. She can do one-on-one, she can do a group as well. And as I said, I give the tutors the study guides that I provide for you, so that helps them focus on what to review as well. You'll get through this, I promise.
Miss D, I have another question. The seminar, I think it was, that you wanted us to attend tomorrow. I felt like I saw something that you sent about that in my emails, and now it's not there. I can't find it. I don't know if you even sent anything.
We changed the time to 10.
Okay.
And I don't have a Zoom link yet, and I forgot to do it, but Anne Guillaume sent a message that I'm supposed to send to everybody with a little video to welcome you. And she's a wonderful speaker. She's an internationally known speaker, and she writes for RDH magazine, and she has for years and years on ergonomics and cutting edge dental hygiene things, saliva, buffering, things that we're going to be getting into in the future. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to, collective you, will be able to sit into at least part of it.
Okay, good. So you'll send that link to us.
When I get it, I will. And I was supposed to be sending the welcome this morning, but I got sidetracked with trying to figure out how to post the lectures from Tuesday, because I'm going through the Canvas Zoom instead of the regular Zoom, and it's just different. It's got passwords and all this other stuff that I don't quite know how to work with.
Is the Friday 10 a.m. Zoom the same as the Loops Zoom, where they're showing us the different loops?
Yes, we're going to have Anne speak first on on ergonomics and protecting your body for the life of your career and other stuff. And she's going to, everybody will get a really great handout because this is really like a 3-hour lecture that she's trying to condense into 45 minutes. And then Zachary will come on to tell you about their product, and if you're interested in trying on their products, they've got they get a hotel room or something, or and they will have appointments and sanitize and social distancing and all that other is going to be in effect, as will Designs for Vision for you, as will Oroscoptic for you as well. I'm sorry, Q Optics. Those are the 3 companies that I usually bring in.
And are those going to happen this semester then?
That will happen, if not this semester, the very beginning of next semester.
Okay, thank you.
Would you recommend to get the loops this year, Ms. D, or would that be used for next year?
I would recommend to get them this year if you can swing it. The sooner you get used to them, the easier it is, and you have a little light that you purchase as well, which that's what I need more than the magnification, is the light, and it really does help with your ergonomics, because if you try and bend too far in, you're out of focus. If you bend too far out, you're out of focus, so it keeps you in proper alignment that way.
Okay, thank
But
you.
About how much do they cost?
It's an investment. We're talking just under 2,000, 1,500,
Okay.
1,800. It's a commitment, and we have second-year students now that somebody just purchased, and you know, you've got a great student discount. So if you can't swing it before you graduate, and you know what you want, you can talk to the rep to possibly extend your student discount, because the day you graduate, the discount's supposed to go away, and the price almost doubles. I didn't get any discount for mine, but they are between the saddles that we have and the loops and the light, and then hearing protection is going to be the next thing that is going to be coming around the bend because of the ultrasonic and everything else that we're exposed to. Hearing loss is quite prevalent with dental workers. So that is going to be probably the next thing that's going to be standard operating equipment for us. But I don't want anybody to feel pressured into buying a particular brand. I don't want anybody to feel pressure into even purchasing loops, okay? Our goal is to have you see and to protect your body. So timing is everything. So don't feel pressured. Some schools do require Old Dominion University. This is part of their first year kit. And everybody has to purchase the same brand of loops as well, and I just can't see that because everybody's face is different, everybody's nose is different. So I want you to be able to see what's out there and find what's comfortable and what will work for you, because I'm still wearing my original pair of loops that I got when I think right before my daughter was born. And she has her second bachelor's degree now. So that's, you know, all I've done was get corrective lenses put in because I didn't need reading glasses then. I was much younger, and I got a light, but it weighs like 12 pounds compared to the ones they've got now. So anyway, you're going to be learning about those. Any other questions?
I have one more question about the 141 exam. Do you show the tutors the actual exam so that they can help us on that, or just the study guide that you've given us?
Both.
Okay. So they kind of know how to direct us into what's important.
Yes, Heen and I have not, she has not seen this exam, but it is the same one that she had last year pretty much. So she knows my style of questions. She has reviewed all of my exams last year. She reviewed all of them. So, and she took notes. So she will give you a comprehensive review.
We'll take it. Great, thank you.
You're welcome. The big thing is don't overthink the questions. It's hard for us to do, isn't it?
I have a question about the webinar tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned that if we attend, we get 2 points of extra credit. How are we supposed to show you that we attended?
I'm going to take roll.
Oh, you'll be there too? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm one of the busybodies.
Perfect.
If I organize it, I feel I need to be there, not only to put my 2 cents worth in because I can't sit quietly, but these are reps that I bring in and the speakers that I bring in because I know them and I know what their support is for the students. And if they stop doing it, I stop asking them to come in. So the nice thing is, it's good to be queen, you know? They tell me how, they ask how high do I have to jump? It's the only power I have right now. I have no power over the bookstore. I have no power over when your kits are going to come in, and I can scream till I'm blue in the face about how this is affecting your education, but it's out of everybody's hands. And unfortunately, I'd love to not go through the bookstore. I'd love to not go through the bookstore, but it is the only way students that can take advantage of financial aid is going through the bookstore. It would be great if they just said, here's the pocket of money, give us the receipts, or it has to be, you know, whatever, but it has to go through the bookstore. And the bookstore has to take their cut as well, which really irritates me. Okay, I'm going to turn my video off. And we're going to start discussing chapters 4 and 5 today. If somebody who can keep track, who's going to volunteer to keep track of the chat box for me?
I'll do it, Miss D.
Okay, great. And who is I'll do it, Ms. D?
It's Irina.
Okay. Thank you. Keep track of that for me. All right, so let's talk about dentition here. We went over this in DNH 141 a little bit, and this is going to be on your test as well in 141. So isn't it great that we're reviewing it yet again, and it's not brand new information? But let's talk about, the arrangement of teeth. Okay, the arrangement of teeth is referred to as the dentition. The primary dentition refers to 20 deciduous teeth. So it's the primary teeth, is also called the baby teeth. It's also called the milk teeth. Primary teeth, deciduous teeth. So in dentistry, we use deciduous or primary as the terminology for the first set of teeth, and there's 20 of them. For the adult teeth, the permanent teeth, there are 32 permanent teeth in the adult dentition. So we're talking again about the arrangement of teeth. So dentition is divided into upper and lower arches, the maxillary arch and the mandibular arch, upper and lower, okay, or maxillary and mandibular, which are the more correct terms. The maxillary and the mandibular arch each have 16 teeth in the adult dentition. The adult dentition has 32 teeth, and it's divided up, 16 and 16. The arches are then further divided into right and left halves, which are quadrants. So you've got 2 quadrants in each arch. A quad means 4. So you have 4 quadrants in the whole mouth. Each quadrant consists of 1/4 of the dentition. So each quadrant has 8 teeth with a mirror image of the other side of the arch, as well as the opposing quadrant in the opposing arch. So each quadrant has 8 teeth. That's providing you have all of your permanent teeth. So we've got the full arch. Okay, the full dentition is 32 teeth. The full arch, maxillary and mandibular, is 16 teeth. We divide each arch into half into a quadrant, right quadrant, left quadrant, of 8 teeth. All right, so we're dividing. So there's a vertical line dividing the right and left sides of the body, and that's your mid-sagittal plane, if you remember from a couple weeks ago, okay, and that's called the midline or the median line of the face, where your nose is. Anything going towards your nose, towards the center, is towards the midline. So the right and left quadrants are separated by this imaginary vertical line, which represents the midline of the skull when you're facing the patient. So you are facing the patient. So a permanent dentition quadrant has, okay, the teeth that are within that quadrant, it has a central incisor, a lateral incisor, canine, first and second premolar, and first, second, and third molar. That is the 8 teeth. So each quadrant has one of those. Versus the deciduous or the primary quadrant, they only have 20 teeth altogether. So each quadrant is going to have 5, 10 on each arch, 2 incisors, a canine, and then their first and second molar, because deciduous or primary dentition does not have premolar teeth. The permanent dentition that replace or succeed the deciduous teeth are called succedenius teeth. You need to know that definition. Succedenius, the permanent teeth that replace or succeed the deciduous teeth.
Miss T, back to the previous slide, you said that the primary teeth doesn't have the third molar or third premolar.
It doesn't have the first or second premolar.
It doesn't have the first or second premolar.
It doesn't have either of them.
Oh, so on the
Because where the baby teeth are, the first and second molar, they're 1-year molar and 2-year molar. When they fall out, the premolars come into their place. And then the molars, our permanent molars, come all behind all those deciduous teeth. We're going to get into this.
Oh, I got that. Yeah, it makes sense. You say premolar, but
Premolar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I got that the molar. Okay, sorry.
All right, so the permanent premolars are succedenius because they replace the deciduous molars. So succedenius, okay, are teeth that replace or succeed the deciduous teeth. Then we've got our mixed dentition, and that refers to any time that the dentition comprises of some of the permanent teeth and some of the deciduous teeth. So any combination of permanent and primary and secondary teeth are considered mixed dentition. So it's oftentimes from the time the child is 5 years old when those permanent molars start coming in, or they lose their 2 front teeth, their 2 bottom front baby teeth. Those are then mixed dentition until all the deciduous teeth fall out. So we need to know how to name these teeth. We need to know how we're going to locate these teeth. And so when identifying a specific tooth or list the dentition, you need to have the dentition, the arch, the quadrant, and the tooth in that order. The dentition, is it permanent or deciduous or primary? The arch, maxillary or mandibular. The quadrant, right or left. And then the tooth. Permanent mandibular right central incisor. Now, when you first start trying to put all those words together, you're going to say permanent central incisor, right mandibular. Okay, as long as you get all the words in there, you've got it. You'll be very familiar with the order. Okay, the dentition, the arch, the quadrant, and the tooth. So you start big and get small for the name encoding. So the universal system or the continuous system uses the Arabic numbers 1 through 32. For the permanent teeth, for the deciduous or primary teeth, they're the letters A through T. Sometimes you'll see them in capital letters, sometimes you'll see them in lowercase letters. They're all the same, okay? Permanent are the numbers, deciduous or primary are the letters. So we start on the maxillary right. Number 1 is assigned to the most posterior molar in the maxillary or upper right. So this is number 1, the wisdom tooth. There are 3 permanent molars, number 1, number 2, number 3. There's 2 permanent premolars, 4 and 5. Then you've got your canine, lateral incisor, central incisor, lateral incisor, canine, first premolar, second premolar, first molar, second molar, third molar. So it goes from 1 to 16, and then you drop down to the mandibular left and goes 17 through 32. So each tooth has a number assigned to it. When you're doing the deciduous teeth, you're using the letters, and each tooth is given a letter. A is the most distal, deciduous maxillary molar. So you've got 2 baby molars, okay? You've got A, B, C, which is the canine, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So it's A through J, K through T. I do not have all of the deciduous teeth memorized. I worked in perio for most of my life. We don't see kids. So I had something like this just taped on my cubby, so I could use that as a reference when I needed it. And when I was working private practice in general practice on Saturdays and filling in and that type of stuff, I needed my cheat sheet. And it's okay to have a cheat sheet for this. Chair side, it's okay, right? When you're on a test or you're taking your boards, you're going to have to use your head to kind of go A, B, C, D, E. Oh, we're talking about E. Universal continuous, adult number, primary or deciduous letters. Then we've got the Palmer notation system, and the Palmer notation system divides the mouth up into quadrants, and they're determined by the intersection of a vertical and horizontal line. So you've got your crisscross. So you've got a quadrant 1 up maxillary right, maxillary left, mandibular right quadrant. The Palmer notation. So you make a grid, and then each tooth is assigned a number, 1 being the central incisor, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 teeth in each quadrant of the maxillary, and then with this grid, it's telling you where you, what tooth in that quadrant you're going to be using. All right, so you'd put the tooth number in here. So number 1 in this grid would be the central incisor, the maxillary right central incisor. And this is completely wrong, but let's take a look at this. So this is the teeth in the right quadrant have a bracket to the right. So this bracket is supposed to be like this, okay? But it's supposed to be around this 3, which means that it's the permanent maxillary right canine. Number 1 is the central incisor, number 2 is the lateral incisor, and number 3 is the canine. But if you see the bracket this way, it's the maxillary left quadrant. So the number or the letter assigned to each tooth depends on its position relative to the midline. So the lowest number is the closest to the midline. So that's tooth number 1 for the permanent, or A for the deciduous. And the farther you go, the higher the number. So these are the numbers, depending on where your brackets are.
Misty,
Yeah.
so when you're saying brackets, you mean when it's being notated in a chart, there's physical brackets that have been drawn around the number?
Yeah, you would draw them, and I don't know where my markup tools are, so I can't do it for you to show you.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I just was curious if you actually
So,
have to draw it. But
yeah, so you would draw the bracket here, and then you'd put A in, or B, or you'd draw the bracket here and then put A, B, C, D, whatever tooth
Okay.
for the primary teeth. Or some people will do the cross and then just put whatever tooth you're talking about.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so for the Palmer notation for primary, it's saying that they're capital letters A through E. Central incisor, lateral incisor, canine, first molar, second molar. Then you've got the FDI, or the Fédération Dentaire Internationale system. And each tooth, deciduous or permanent, is given a 2-digit number. So there's no duplicates of numbers or letters used. So the first number is going to tell you what quadrant it is, and the second number is going to tell you whether it is what tooth within that quadrant. So let's take a look at that. Okay, permanent dentition. You've got 1-8 here. Oh my gosh, but 18 could also be the mandibular left first molar. So this is, you call it 1-8, or you can write it 1.8 to denote that you're using a different numbering system. So that's why everybody has to know what language you're using. Orthodontists like a different numbering system than general dentists. Most general dentists will use the continuous or universal numbering system. Ortho will be using something else. Oral surgeons use something else as well. They usually use the Palmer notation system. So for your tests, what you're going to be doing is need to convert one to the other. So the test question might be, tooth number 3, using the universal numbering system, what number is the maxillary right first molar? Permanent, what is the permanent maxillary right first molar? So for the universal, it's number 3. Using the Palmer system, Palmer notation system, what is such and such a tooth? Or we've got number 3, convert number 3 to the FDI, which would be 1.6. So you've got to be able to transfer this knowledge from one system to the next. And that's where I call it dumping, information dumping. When you know you're going to be getting tested on that stuff, you get a sheet of paper, especially for your boards. You get a whiteboard and you just spew all this stuff out before the test begins, or once the test begins, because you're being timed, you spew all this out as your reference. So that way, when you have a question, you don't have to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've already got it down. So this is quadrant 1. Maxillary right. Maxillary left is quadrant 2. Mandibular left is quadrant 3. And mandibular right is quadrant 4. For the permanent dentition, deciduous teeth have their own first number as well. Quadrant 5, quadrant 6, quadrant 7, and quadrant 8. So it's the first digit that will let you know whether or not it's a permanent or deciduous tooth. Because there is in the adult, no matter what system you're using, there's no quadrant 5, 6, 7, or 8. But you've got tooth number 1 are your central incisors, tooth number 2, lateral incisors, 3 are your canines, 4 are your first molars, and 5 are your second molars. Okay, so let's permanent maxillary right first molar. What number is that?
Number 3 in universal.
Okay, Palmer is using the hash marks. What tooth within the arch is the first molar for the Palmer? So this is the maxillary right quadrant here. So you can do it like this as well.
Number 1.
Number 6.
The first molar,
Is it 6?
6, yeah.
The quadrant number or the tooth number?
we're looking at this tooth here.
Okay.
All right, so the FDI, what quadrant is the FDI? It's quadrant number 1. What tooth in the arch is this?
6.
1.6.
So it would be 1/6 or 1.6. And when it's being printed, I don't see this very often, but I like the 1.6 because it automatically lets you know it's not tooth number 16 in the universal. So can you see we've got tooth number 3, tooth number 16 or 1/6, and then tooth with the bracket around it. They all mean the same tooth. So let's do the mandibular left second molar. The universal numbering system is what number? The mandibular left second molar.
19.
15.
I thought I heard
Or
it.
18, sorry, 18.
Okay, all right. FDI, it's what quadrant is it?
3.
Third quadrant.
It's the third quadrant, and what tooth within that quadrant?
7.
Left second molar.
So it's 3/7 or 3.7. Now, 3/7, we know there's not a 37, tooth number 37, but there's a tooth 17. That could be the mandibular left second, the mandibular left wisdom tooth. Okay, and the Palmer, again, you're using the quadrant. So this is the mandibular left quadrant. So I'm doing it this way. Upper right, this is upper right. Upper left, lower left, and lower right. So we are going to make a bracket because it's the mandibular left second molar. And what tooth is it?
7.
Is this making a little sense? You'll also be able to see things like this, and you'll have, you'll please extract, okay, and this is the oral surgeons. That's what sometimes the extraction prescription will be. Please extract all 8s, okay? Those are the wisdom teeth. Or please extract, okay, 6, 7, and 8. if 3 teeth needed to be extracted on this maxillary left. Nice little chart that has all the conversions for you. Okay, any questions on that? Hopefully a lot of this was a review for you.
Ms. D, I have a quick question with my total lack of experience here in the dental field. So although in the universal system, it would be the third molar would be number 1 on the right the maxilla, we still would call it, if we're just referring to it as the third molar, if we're just speaking to each other about it.
Yes, this is the permanent maxillary right third molar.
Okay, but it's number 1, but we'd refer to it as the third molar.
Yes, first,
Okay.
second,
Just
third.
checking.
This is the first premolar and the second premolar, first and
Okay.
second. All right. So, but this is, it could be number 1, it could be 1/8, or it could be 8.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So you talk the dentition first, permanent or deciduous. You talk the arch, maxillary or mandibular, the quadrant, right or left, and then the tooth. So you start with the big and end up with the small. And you're going to be drawing all of these on the right side eventually. Okay, any other questions?